Sheldon's favorite toy is a racquetball. Sheldon loves racquetballs. Sheldon also loves all of his stuffed animals. Sheldon means to us family and happiness, also goofiness. We got Sheldon in 2015, pretty early in our relationship, and I think he is sort of a representation of our love.
It's just been us two and him for the last few years. He's definitely our little guy.
Sorry, are we boring you? It was just a week before our wedding when we first noticed Sheldon was bleeding from his mouth. I just assumed that he'd probably cut his mouth on something.
By the next morning, there's blood everywhere. There's blood on the carpets, on the floor, on the couch. I walked in and he just didn't move from the floor. He looked at me and just put his head back down. And that was really when I knew it's affecting him.
We took Sheldon to DoveLewis 4 days before our wedding.
Sheldon was diagnosed with immune-mediated thrombocytopenia, which essentially means that his body started attacking all the platelets that he has to the point where he couldn't stop bleeding.
The disease that Sheldon had, it was life-threatening. He was hospitalized in our ICU for several days. It took a while for Sheldon to respond to immunosuppressive therapy, and during that time, we have to provide blood transfusions so that his body can survive while we're waiting for his body to respond to therapy. And throughout that time, he needed 3 blood transfusions until he was able to respond to therapy and stop bleeding so much on his own.
You know, it's supposed to be the best week of your life, right? Seeing him suffering through that entire time it made it rough.
Going into our wedding, we knew he's in really good hands. There's nothing we can do for him right now. We weren't out of the woods yet, but it was looking hopeful.
We wrote our own vows, and I had written my own vows a couple weeks before, and then I rewrote them about our experience that week.
This week has been a whirlwind of emotions. Seeing one of our family members struggling this week has put everything into perspective. As we sat in Sheldon's little pen at DoveLewis on Wednesday night, I realized how truly lucky I was to have such an amazing partner for this life. It was one of the lowest points I've had in the past few years, and yet there was no one else that I would have rather been with in that pen.
Sheldon's disease was really serious, and the ability to get blood products is what made it possible for him to survive. Sheldon received 3 different transfusions from 3 different donors, Archie, Olive, and Kashi. We're so lucky to have a blood bank at DoveLewis because it allows us to give blood products to patients on an emergent basis. So the minute a patient walks in the door and they need a blood transfusion or some other blood product, we're able to provide that care right away.
After our ceremony, I had a text from DoveLewis that said, Sheldon's platelets are now in the 200,000 range. He can be discharged tomorrow. I can't even tell you how excited we were. Once our night had kind of officially shut down, we hopped right on over to DoveLewis and we got our wedding picture with Sheldon.
He had been through so much. It didn't really matter that it was 2 a.m. We needed to see him and be supportive of him because he's been so supportive of us.
I would like to say thank you to all of the donors that made our entire experience at DoveLewis possible. Without them, we wouldn't have Sheldon.
To all the donors, I would say thank you so much for your support. It's because of you guys that we're able to provide top-of-the-line care from just a pet that comes in from a broken nail to a pet that needs dialysis. We're able to do those things because of your support.
Now that Sheldon is doing okay, we are very excited to go on more of our outdoor adventures and to continue to give Sheldon a lifetime supply of racquetballs. There's just no better place for Sheldon than DoveLewis.